The things that you find deep down in your freezer. If you guys have any suggestions on how to pack things in a deep freezer, leave it down in the comments for me, because I definitely need help with that.
Would you stay till the morning light, or would you follow me, or would you let it be? If I leave tonight, we could do this right, we'll find the remedy.
Good afternoon, friends, and welcome back to the homestead. So we are currently downstairs in my basement, and this is where I have our freezers, our second refrigerator with the bottom freezer, and then our big deep freezer right over there. I need to go through and see exactly what meats I have here so that I can properly utilize the pantry challenge, because I am utilizing the meat that we have harvested this past year from our 2 pigs and then all the chicken. Plus I have other stuff that I've purchased at the grocery store. So I need to go through and take everything out, get it all organized so I know exactly what is what, and it makes it a little bit easier for me when I go to plan my meals. So hang out with me while we go through all of our meat. Alright, so here in our stand-up freezer, this is where we put the majority of our pork, and all these rows are completely filled with different meats. Mostly of it is pork. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull everything out in here and kind of put it in a order of what is what, and then I can write it down in my book as to what I have in here and then place everything back here properly. I will also probably take everything out of the deep freezer and put that on the table as well so I know what is what. And I also need to clear up space for those meat birds that we're going to be getting come spring. So let's get started. This is the chicken that I went ahead and separated from our last batch of meat birds. 25 chickens that I went ahead and pieced out into individual pieces. So I have a bunch of that in here as well. The veggies that I froze, all of my cayenne peppers, and a few jalapeno peppers. Now we're getting to our pork meat. All the pork that we went ahead and cut up and put into freezer safe paper. I've got a pork butt. We love to smoke pork butt. This is exciting. This is lard that I have yet to render down. I am going to do that probably in the next couple weeks. I want to go ahead and render down our lard and store that also for the pantry challenge. Freezer meals that my father-in-law got. Alright, so my table is completely full of meat. I have no more room to put any more meat on this table. So I'm going to go ahead and start sorting through what I have here and start putting it back into the freezer. And I just lost some meat to the floor. I've cleared 3 shelves here in the freezer, so I'm going to go ahead and start putting some of the meat back here. I'm going to do the top shelf of chicken because that is what we use most. I'm going to go ahead and put the chicken up here, and then I'll start loading the pork on the other 2 shelves. So let's see what kind of chicken we got. Alright, it is so true that things get lost in your freezer. You think you ran out of something and you start buying it from the grocery store because you think it's gone. After digging through this freezer, I found a whole bunch more of our ground pork that we did. I thought we were out of ground pork, and it was all the way at the bottom underneath a whole bunch of other different meats. So I'm glad I found these. I kid you not, I found like 12 of these packages. You think you use it all. The things that you find deep down in your freezer. I got everything cleaned out of the bottom shelves. I put all of my chicken that I had pieced out in this top shelf right here. Now I'm going to start going through and putting my meat back, but I'm going to make sure that I label it or keep it in its own section so that I know where it's at and it's not covered by a whole bunch of different stuff. I think I was just overwhelmed when we were piecing out the meat, and I just was like packing it in there, not even paying attention to what was where. I was just overwhelmed. It was a lot we did in one day. So I'm gonna take my time and put this meat back in here properly so that I know where it is and what I truly have on hand. Let me real quick show you what this table looks like with all of this meat on it. It's crazy. So I actually took this container, this little thing out of the big deep freezer. I wasn't using it. And I went ahead and put all my ground pork in here so that I can grab it easily. This is something I'm going to use quite often, so I need to make it easy so I know where it's at, and so my husband can find it, because he's not going to go searching through that madness to find something that I asked him to get. So this will make it a lot easier for him and I to find. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is our stew meat and our pork roast. I'm gonna put those on the same shelf, but I'm gonna section them out so I have pork, stewed pork on one side and roast on the other side, so I know what is what and I can grab when I need it. Some of them are pretty big and then others are kind of on the smaller side. I'm gonna play Tetris right now and try to get them all in there. Alright, so now I think I'm going to go into my bigger meats. I've got ham and I've got a few pork butts. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in there in the next aisle because they are a lot bigger. It's going to take up more room. And I've got 4 packages of pork chops left. So I'm going to go ahead and put the pork chops with the pork tenderloin in the next shelf. Alright, so the next thing I have that isn't pork or chicken related is all of my ground beef. So I will go and buy this in bulk when I notice it is on sale, and then I will put it in individual 1-pound packages and store these in the freezer, and I just grab what I need when I need to make anything with ground beef. So I'm going to go ahead and put those, I think, in the shelves. They'll be easier for me to grab there and see them that way. Alright, so that is it for this freezer. Now we're going to go into the room and get the deep freezer and check out what is inside that freezer. I almost forgot about this freezer right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take everything out of here and see exactly what I have in this freezer as well. So I got quite a few things in here. This drawer is mostly all veggies that I preserved from the garden and just stuck in the freezer. I've got okra here that I breaded, and it's all ready to be air fried or deep fried, whichever you prefer. I've got some leftover pumpkin from the pumpkins that I harvested. I've got quite a few bags of zucchini that I can put into banana bread or meatloaf. That's an idea. Some zucchini that I breaded and is ready to be fried. Alright, so I'm going to leave everything that's in here because it's mostly all vegetables. I have a couple of bags of fruit as well that I can make some smoothies out of. But this is my vegetable drawer for the most part. Alright, so here is the deep freezer, and this is where I have a lot of our whole chicken. This is where I stored it. It was just a lot easier to put them in a deep freezer than it is to try to stack them in a stand-up freezer. This is a lot easier. I was able to store 70 meat birds down here in this freezer, which was really awesome. My only dislike with a freezer like this is that things get lost very easily inside of here. And when you put things in that are not frozen, they tend to mold to each other, and then it's really hard to get them out when they have frozen solid and they are connected to another piece of chicken or another piece of meat that's in there. That's the only thing I dislike about this kind of freezer. I'm gonna have to play around with it and figure out how I'm gonna do this later. If you guys have any suggestions on how to pack things in a deep freezer, leave it down in the comments for me, because I definitely need help with that. This is also where I put my bone broth, my bones for my bone broth. So I have a ton of bones in here that I need to also make into some bone broth. And I have my scraps that I always save to put into my bone broth to add nutrients to it. So I've got a bunch of this down here that I need to go ahead and start cooking down. Found some more lard. This is what happens when the bags stick together. They rip. Chilies that we did together, and also some chilies that my friend sent to me. Alright, so I've gotten to the bottom of this freezer, and it's all chicken, whole chickens that are down there. And of course, I cannot get them out because they are stuck together. My hands are freezing. Let me show you what they look like. Those chickens I'm actually going to go ahead and leave there, and I will have my husband pry them out of there for me when I need them. They're gonna stay in here because I don't have any more room in that other freezer, but I did want to see exactly how many chickens I have left that are whole in the freezer. Alright, so I have 22 whole chickens that are left in there. which is really good. That's gonna definitely get me through this pantry challenge, and it will get me until we harvest our chickens in spring. I'm not worried about that. Thank goodness I have enough in there. All right, friends, so now I've got everything here in my freezer all organized and looking good. Now let me go ahead and discuss with you everything that I have in my freezers. I went ahead and wrote down everything so I can tell you exactly what I have in my freezers. All right, so when it comes to chicken, I've got 10 packages of chicken breasts, 6 packages of legs, 7 packages of thighs, and 21 whole chickens. That's a lot of chicken. I think I'll be good. Now for the pork, I've got 16 packages of ground pork that I'm going to turn into sausage, 15 packages of stewed meat, 13 packages of roast, 2 hams, 1 shoulder, 4 packages of pork chops, and 3 tenderloins. Now for the ground beef, I have got 21 pound packages of ground beef in the freezer. That's a lot of meat I've got in the freezer, guys, and I'm super excited. Everything here in the freezer besides the ground beef, my husband and I raised here on the homestead, and it makes me feel so good to know we have that much meat down here in our freezer to use at any time that we need it. I don't think we're gonna be going hungry anytime. And just in case we ever lose power, we have a generator so that these freezers do not thaw out, because that would be absolutely 100% devastating. I would cry a lot. All right, friends, so I hope you enjoyed this video of checking out what I have here in the freezers. You saw the video of my pantry, and now you got to see exactly what I have in my freezers to use. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. As always, I hope all's well, and have a blessed day.